Life is too short to play small. You were designed for big things. You are listening to the Big Design Energy Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to Big Design Energy. I have Winnie Chan Wang with me today. I just asked what introduction she liked, and she said she's a well-loved woman. She has all these impressive degrees and graduated from MIT, all this amazing science for your logical brain if you need that to dive into this episode. But ultimately, she just loves helping healing people, a trauma-informed acupuncturist, which I've been thinking about getting acupuncture for the first time. So maybe we'll talk about that also. Shadow worker, all of the things. So welcome, Winnie.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Marissa. And I really want to thank all the listeners for tuning in. You guys are so lucky to have Marissa channeling all her lovely messages to you. So I feel really blessed to be with all of you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive in and talk all about what you do now, but I would love to hear kind of how you transitioned from the whole academic world into what you do now, or if you were always dueling with both of those, or
Yeah, so I have 4 science degrees, and 2 of them are from MIT, and they're really nerdy subjects like computer science and finance. And of course, my whole life, actually, I've just been science, 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 study, study, study. And then when I was 37 years old, I have this near-death car accident. And up until that point, I never meditated a day in my life, don't know anything about spirituality, but one wake-up call. It's like I have to come face to face with death. And then I was like, oh, wait, you know, there's this whole part of me that was missing. Here's the thing, it's like my mind was highly developed. I'm so good at analyzing and judging, planning, calculating, strategizing. So as a result of my very brilliant mind, I was constantly living in the past, dwelling, analyzing everything that I did wrong and everything that everybody else did wrong, and just holding grudges against myself and everybody else. At the same time, I also had so much fear about the future because I'm so good at calculating at every possible thing that can go wrong. And so I was constantly stressed, worried, have major anxiety. At the time of my car accident, I was constantly living in anger of the past or grief of the past, and living in overthinking, fear, worry of the future. And I just wasn't able to enjoy life. So when I finally had this near-death car accident, I was like, well, if I can have a do-over, let's not worry about the past and the future so much. And that's when I discovered meditation, Reiki, spiritual healing. And so funny because in the beginning, I was so drawn to the love and light. I was just like chanting mantras, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. And then I had a divorce. And then my ego got crushed because what do you mean you're a healer of love and light? You don't even have harmonious relationships in your personal life. So that's when I was led to do really deep shadow work. Night after night, I had countless dark nights of the soul, which is what resulted in me writing my book called Honoring Darkness, Embrace Shadow Work to Nourish and Grow Your Power, because I realized I was so attached to the love and light. So every time there was grief, anger, suppression, fear, unworthiness, scarcity, victim mindset, conflict, shame, manipulation. I just avoided it, ran away from it, denied it. It was like I was gaslighting myself that those things don't exist, and it's hilarious. But so basically, it took a complete, let's just call it meltdown, where I really finally did the shadow work to come into my authentic power. Yeah, so now I introduce myself as I'm just a well-loved woman because I love myself.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that expression. That's amazing because yeah, at the end of the day, what can you are you taking with you your degrees like after this? No, yeah, it's so often those experiences, those almost like come to God moments of near death experiences where, okay, what really matters? If I only had like 10 minutes to live, if I only had a year left, what would I want to do? How would I want to spend my life? Not worrying about the future, not stressing over something I said that I don't even know if someone is still thinking about 5 years ago. Like, I just want to enjoy nature, enjoy my life, enjoy all the beauty around me. That's amazing. Yeah. I feel like so many people start out with, like you said, the mantras and the positive affirmations like, I'm great, I'm amazing, I am worthy. And I don't believe it, but I'm going to just keep saying it. And then maybe if I say it 5 million times, I'll believe it. But a lot of times there's the layers, the stuff underneath that we need to focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really funny because I am sure all the listeners out there want to make more money. I mean, who doesn't want to make more
Yeah.
money, right? And how do we actually make more money? So, do we make more money by chanting, money comes to me naturally? I
Mhm.
am abundance. Every day I wake up, is I'm abundance, I'm abundance, I'm abundance. Then, do I actually get abundance? So,
Yes.
that's something that I have pondered a lot because clearly I want abundance, but it's almost like the more I want it, the more I don't get it because I have attachments and I'm not actually looking at my blockages to abundance. So I was actually pulling cards for myself yesterday, and Spirit showed me that there are two areas that is blocking me from my financial abundance. The first thing is called harmony. So what I have in my hand is something called Tao calligraphy.
It's
So
beautiful.
my Taoist teacher, Dr. and Master Jigang Sha, he is able to connect to the source and put this positive information into a card. So in other words, by tracing this card, I can it's like karma cleansing. I can clear all the ways that I show up in conflict in my relationships, right?
Mhm.
And actually become the greatest harmony. In Chinese, we have a saying called 家和万事兴, which basically means if you want flourishing, it starts with your home. So, what is your relationship with your mom, your dad, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your sons and daughters? Because if you are still angry at your mom and dad about the childhood trauma and the way they suppress you, right? If you're still angry at your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife about whether they have anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style, and if you still cannot accept your son and daughter just the way they are and keeps trying to find what's wrong with them and trying to fix them, you won't have harmony. And if you don't have harmony, this is the number one blockage to why people don't have financial abundance. So, of course, do chant mantra, I'm abundant, I'm abundant, I'm
Yeah.
abundant. But the shadow work is really, can you heal your relationship with your mom, your dad, your partner, and your children? And, in this Taoist teaching, we hold all of this relationship trauma in our tailbone area. So there are all this other mantra sound healing practices where you can visualize a light ball and loosen some of this trauma in the tailbone. So yeah, that's basically secret number one to having more money is to repair the relationship with your family.
Yeah, I fully believe that's true. And again, just abundance. Sure, money is a byproduct of abundance, but it's not the whole thing. Because if you just had money and then your parents hated you and your kids hated you and your spouse hated you, what kind of a life is? I'd rather not have money and have a loving family than that. You can have both, but just because you have money doesn't mean you're going to be happy. And all of these traumas, we think we we either think, oh, it doesn't really bother me, or I'm just making it more of a bigger deal than it is, or I can't even deal with it. I'm too angry. All of these like conflicting things, you definitely have to be at a place to be ready to tackle it. But once you do, the forgiveness that is getting the harmony in your life.
Exactly. And I want to take a moment to respond to what you just said, which is when we have conflict with our parents, children, and partner, so often we don't want to deal with the conflict. And then we turn to addiction. Maybe we are addicted to alcohol, to sex, to work, or to social media or Netflix.
Yeah.
And I'm going to raise my hand and tell you that up until a month ago, I was still having some addiction around, okay, this is really uncomfortable. Let me just turn on the TV and not deal with this. Or, you know, let me just eat some ice cream and make everything better. And what I've realized is that in my subconscious, I have a secret addiction to pain.
Mm.
You see, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, my parents spanked me. And so not only did they spank me, but then after they spanked me, they would tell me, I spank you because I love you. And I spank you, that's for your benefit, not for my benefit. As a result, I got into my subconscious that pain means love. That, I almost crave pain. So, maybe 7 years ago, I was even into abusive relationships and, BDSM and seeking ways of, basically with people who would give me pain because I associated people who give me pain as people who love me.
Mm-hmm.
To the extent that even I had some of this self-harm tendency where I was giving myself pain. And so then I was like, okay, well, that's why I am not financially abundant, is because subconsciously, I think that, pain is love. Mm-hmm. And so I get to do really deep healing work where I disassociate pain with love, where I form a new relationship that God is great. I can be, in the Bible, they talk about one sheep out of 100 that is out of God's kingdom. But as soon as the sheep comes back to God's kingdom, it's like asking for forgiveness. I don't have to deserve abundance,
Mhm.
but if I'm in God's kingdom, I automatically get abundance. And so, with this concept of forgiveness, it's so funny because I say, you know what, God is like a 24/7 ATM machine. Okay.
Yes.
So you say, God, 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 give me money. And then what's the secret password? The password is, can you please forgive me? And then God gives you so much money, like $10 million per second. So what I realized that in my life, I've had a lot of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. And I used to hold on to all these grudges because you know, it's like negative karma. Hey, you owe me $100 in negative karma. You owe me $100 in negative karma. You owe me $100 in negative karma. But you know what? Here's a secret. I don't care how many dollars you owe me in negative karma, because if God forgives me first, right? I'm getting $10 million per second. I don't care about these $100 that you owe me with this and that, right? I can forgive you so easily when I am connected to the source waterfall,
Yeah.
right? So really plugged in to the source, that's the way to infinite love, infinite forgiveness, and infinite abundance. So it actually doesn't matter what my trauma story is.
Mhm.
I just need to go to God and say, hey, give me some money.
Yeah.
Please forgive me. That's the password of the ATM machine.
Yeah.
And then God just rains the money down. That's it.
Yeah. I think what's your opinion on the we are all one? Because I've heard you mention multiple religions and spiritual teachings. So what's your opinion of we are all one from source consciousness? And so in theory, I am you and you are me, and if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself.
Absolutely. We are one. You know, my parents can't hurt me without hurting themselves.
Mhm.
And I can't hurt my children without hurting myself. And the same thing is true. As a healer, I can't heal you without also healing myself. In fact, every thought doesn't need to be spoken. If I have a negative thought about you,
Mhm.
I'm hurting you and I'm hurting me, right? So judgment, every time I have a negative judgment, I hurt you and I hurt me. So I don't like to do that. Why would I do something that hurts me? That doesn't make sense. On the other hand, every time I offer you a compliment,
Mhm.
that benefits you and benefits me. So I want to do that all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the idea that we are one, imagine that I am this MIT nerd with 4 science degree. I read the Bible every day. I chant Taoist mantras, Buddhist mantras, Hindu mantras. There isn't one spiritual tradition that I don't study because I'm a nerd, right? So to me, my mission is to help everybody realize love is love.
Yeah.
So I love to tell anything from Bible stories to Buddhist, Taoist, Hindu mantras. I like to pray, meditate. I call it the hot pot. Let's just throw it all together, because
Yeah.
love is love, forgiveness is forgiveness. Anybody who talks about love and forgiveness, we're really speaking the same language.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't fully love without forgiving because you're at least holding on to something yourself that you haven't forgiven yourself for. And like you said, if I hurt you or I judge you, it hurts both of us. And if you don't forgive someone, if you don't forgive your parents for this trauma, you're hurting both of you. If you forgive your parents, it's not saying what you did wasn't shitty, didn't suck, wasn't messed up. But what it was saying is, I'm no longer holding on to this heaviness and moving into the love and light. But you don't have to be like, I am love and light. I am love and light. You can if you want, but yeah, it's that release of the forgiveness. I love it. And with the judgments, where I was going originally was with the judgments, that creates separation. That creates separation from all of us being the one. And we all have these feelings of, I'm not worthy, I am not enough, I don't belong here. Like, if I was at MIT, I'd be like, I know I'm smart, but I'm also not getting a degree in computer sciences anytime soon. So I might think I don't belong there, but that doesn't have to be the case. And if you went somewhere that was maybe more outside of your comfort zone, you would feel that. But when we come back to the all together connectedness, we are one. And at our core, we want to be loved. We want to be forgiven for what we've done. We want to feel this joy and this happiness. That's so beautiful. I love it.
So first of all, I want to bust the myth that I'm not smart because when I was a freshman at MIT, I barely knew how to type the URL into the browser. Okay, guys, that's how computer illiterate I am. And the only reason why I majored in computer science from MIT was because my dad told me, hey, Winnie, if you majored in computer science, you'd never be unemployed. So I majored in computer science because I was a people pleaser and I have daddy issues, okay?
Yeah, that's like a lack mentality of like, you don't want to be without a job, so do this because you'll always get a job.
I was the obedient Asian immigrant daughter, okay? I just did what my dad told me. So please don't think of me as the smart girl, but as the girl who had daddy issues, who was people pleasing.
Okay, well, you're smart too, but I take my point back on specific computer skills at that moment. So
But it really goes to say, it's like, we are really all one, right? If the girl who can barely type a URL into the browser can have a near perfect GPA graduating from MIT, it really means that we're just all the same, I'm not smarter than you at all.
yeah,
It's just because I was an extreme people pleaser. So I
you
with
did everything you could do to get it done,
I
get it
had
done perfect.
I had extreme people pleasing issues and no boundaries at that time. So I just did whatever my dad told me. And so that there we go.
Yeah, yeah. I want to say also thank you for sharing everything that you have. That's very personal, and I'm all about sharing all of that. But I know some people are a little more reserved, but I love the vulnerability. I love the vulnerability.
And the other funny thing about judgment that you alluded to, and I talk about this in chapter 2.5 of my book. Basically, my book is a Bible on shadow work because I applied well, I'm also a professor. So I designed this like 11-week curriculum. And so every chapter has exercises. And so how I finally graduated from judging people is to realize every person is my mirror, right? So if I think my mother is judgmental, that's because I'm judgmental, right? If I think that my ex is selfish, that's because I'm selfish, right? If I think that my daughter doesn't ever listen to me, that's because I don't ever listen to my daughter. So there's this technique called flip it around. And it's by Byron Katie. Highly recommend her books. But if you want the shortcuts, I always say I want to be like the Yelp review or the Amazon review. So basically, I give you all the different research and shortcuts in my book. Basically, whenever you get triggered by somebody, right? My daughter is not listening to me. There's actually mathematically 4 permutations, right? So my daughter doesn't listen to me. My daughter doesn't listen to herself. I'm not listening to me, and I'm not listening to her. So think about this. What is the
Mhm.
sound of one hand clapping?
Yeah.
Nothing. What is the sound of two hand clappings? So in order for you to be triggered, it means that it must be true that you're not listening to that person and that person's not listening to
Yeah.
you, right? So how do we gain authentic power is to take responsibility with the way we're showing up, right? The only way I can be triggered by my parents listening or not listening to me, suppressing or not suppressing me, is because I'm doing that to myself and I'm doing that to them. So if we have the courage to apply what is called the flip it around method by Byron Katie, right? The four
Mm.
mathematical permutations, it's the shortcut, the fastest way to realize, oh yeah, that's my shadow showing up right here. So from now on, every time you get triggered, instead of saying the F word,
Yeah.
which I do a lot, is to be like, oh, yay. Here is an aspect of me that is not healed. Here is an opportunity for me to heal myself by taking ownership and shining love, forgiveness, and compassion into my shadow.
Yeah. Triggers are, yeah, I've done an episode on that. Triggers are, they'll get you. And then as soon as you realize them, then, like you said, you're like, oh, yes, I see here. I've been especially bossy lately because someone's trying to boss me around and I do not enjoy it. So they probably don't enjoy it when I do it. Let me take a look at that a little bit deeper. Yeah. I love that. The reflection being able to look within yourself, but also, like you said, see yourself mirrored again, just strengthening the we are one. And I truly believe you can create your own reality. You could, instead of someone, instead of saying, oh, I must be being bossy and having this awareness, you could fall into a trap of, well, fuck that person, fuck them, fuck that, that stuff, and just get negative and then bring your whole day down, and then you're bringing everyone else down. Or you could leave the moment as is, come back to yourself when you need, and keep on living your day and creating good memories and still be able to enjoy your meal versus now my sandwich tastes horrible, all that. All that.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing up, the blame game that many of us play. And I'm going to tell you that I, for one, played a blame game for many, many years. Okay. So I think for 41 years, I played the blame game. And is to give myself so much compassion. Well, why have I been playing the blame game? Why do I want to hold on to the victim card, the powerless victim identity? It's because I don't know better,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I inherited this powerless victim from my mother. And my mother inherited from grandmother, especially for women, right? You think about it. In the United States, we get paid 77 cents on the dollar. There is injustice. Women are suppressed, and there is more Me Too that happened to women than to men. And so we get to, as a collective, also bring compassion to the people who are playing the blame game. One of the traps is in the beginning when I was doing shadow work, I'll be pointing fingers at people, be like, hey, you don't do shadow work. You don't do shadow work. You don't do shadow work.
Yeah.
And it was like having this like superiority complex about me, like, hey, like you're blaming me. You're being a victim, you're not taking responsibility of your own actions. And it's to bring compassion, be like, yeah, as a society, right? We've had patriarchy for thousands of years. And it's not just that women are victim, but also men are victims of the patriarchy.
Mhm.
And so if people are acting like a victim, then we get to practice compassion for people who are not taking responsibility, who are not doing the work, and who is still dwelling in their own, toxicity.
Yeah, I think there's so many different layers, so many different points of awareness, and just different sparks that we each get on our own journey. And maybe some people never get them. I think this planet, our species, it's just been ingrained in us to have this victim mentality. Like in our DNA, we have different challenges as men and women, but it doesn't really matter. Victim, slave mentality. We are trying to serve others. And this is one of the more recent things I've been working on myself is instead of trying to serve my community and, serve love and light and serve healing and do this, instead emanate it and be. And that's when it clicked for me, the being in the flow or the more feminine aspect, because our society as a whole, I feel like, is very masculine driven. I mean, Jesus was a man and came here as a man. All of the other religious figures that are, well known are men because they knew how to get the message across was to incarnate as a male. Um, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm just, we're in this masculine all the time. And so getting in the feminine and just, it's always like, okay, but just be and just be open to allow and receive. And it's like, okay, but what do I have to do to be open? And what do I have to do to allow myself to surrender and receive and all of this? And so how I'm working on it is instead of the victim or the masculine, not that those two are intertwined, but whatever, mindset you might be in, putting that aside and just working on myself, just illuminating with light or illuminating with love or just sharing versus serving, because you don't have to serve. There isn't a master to serve. We're just spreading love and light, emanating love and light. And when you do that, people will find you who resonate with you. And luckily, we get to, share things like this podcast and your book and your radio show and all of these different social media where you can find these positive corners tucked away so people can find you. And it doesn't just have to be like I'm walking around at a farmer's market and someone stops me like, whoa, I just feel like you're so spiritual and full of love and light wisdom. Tell me more. It could be a little different, but that's what I'm currently diving into, I guess.
Thank you so much for saying that, because indeed, so I want to say something, which is service is perfect. That's the masculine principle, is to serve, and that's great. I honor everybody who's in the service industry. What has happened is there's been a suppression of feminine where we're not good at receiving. And really it's just that we get to increase our feminine energy as a collective. We get to receive help. And really finding the balance. Sometimes I work with clients in the service industry. They're like, oh, I'm so tired at the end of the day after working with a lot of people. And especially, during COVID, we have a massive spike in anxiety and depression. And so all my clients who are talk therapists, they got really burnt out. They're like, oh my God, like one of my friends, she said her wait list is 1.5 years long. She specialized with working with children between age 5 and 21. And can you imagine the wait list of 1.5 years? That's how much we're hurting as a species. And so when we are a talk therapist or whatever life coaching that we do, if we just give, then we are depleted.
Mhm.
So it's like 50-50, we need to make sure that we're giving 50%, but we're also receiving 50%, and that we must keep this going for the longevity. So I'm not burnt out, that I can do this for 40 years. I can do this all day long because I am receiving also.
Yeah, your friend, if she has a wait list for a year and a half, but then gets burnt out 7 months in, then those people are going to have to get on another wait list and then wait even longer and she won't be able to help them. Yeah, I definitely agree. There needs to be a balance, a harmony of the energies.
And so one of the things that really helped me receive is to realize I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
It's really funny going back to my 4 science degree, right? Like all these jobs that I used to have as an acupuncturist or as a computer programmer, I'm so good at doing what I do, playing a single player game.
Mm.
For example, somebody has lower back pain or they have anxiety and depression. A lot of the times, I can help them in one session. One time I had this client, she had liquid coming out of her ears.
Mm.
And she's been to ER and they gave her Western medicine, all kinds of meds, including anti-cancer meds and like cancer medicine for cancer, and nothing was helping. In our traditional Chinese medicine, we have 5 elements, and we say that fear is stored in the kidney and kidney opens in the ear. So because liquid is coming out of the ear, I asked her, okay, how long has this been? And she said, it's been 3 months. And I said, okay, so what was the scariest thing that you had to face 3 months ago? And she said, I have this company and I didn't know if I should sell it or not sell it. If I sell it prematurely, I'm afraid I'm leaving money on the table. But if I don't sell it, I'm afraid I'll never get another offer. And so I built this company for selling. So I was really scared of making the wrong decision. And then so I said, okay, well, where's the company now? And she said, I sold it a month ago. I said, okay, girl, okay. Can you see the emptiness of your suffering? Okay, you were scared 3 months ago, but right now it's history. Why are you so stuck? And then so we laughed about it. That, that's the thing, is the body keeps the score, right? So the fact that she was really scared, the body kept the score in the ears. And so as soon as I help her realize the emptiness of her suffering in one session, the liquid stopped coming out of the ear, right? So that is how I'm able to combine traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, shadow work, Reiki, and all this other stuff to help people. And that's why I wrote a book, because I'm like, okay, if I can only help one person at a time, how many people can I help? And that's why I started doing courses, because I'm like, dude, you think you're just reading a book. You think you're just taking my course, but I'm taking care of your kidney, your liver, your heart, your stomach, your lungs. I'm taking care of your body, because the body keeps the score. Yeah. So it's so funny. And one thing that I realized about my limitation is so much I'm just very narrow, playing a single lone wolf game, as I call it.
Mhm.
I'm good at what I do, but I don't work well in teams. I don't collaborate, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized that the purpose of life is to build connections, is to have relationships, right? So part of my road to financial abundance going to come back to the greatest harmony. What does that mean? The greatest harmony means that when we're together, we're stronger, right? When we're playing a team, we can score more goals, right? So for me, it's like, okay, I have to let go of my ego, control freak tendency. Like, I want it like this, and I want it like this, and I want it like this. I have to just trust, surrender, and pass the ball to other people and learn to work in a team.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely supporting each other as a community, that connection. It really is what it's all about. If you, like you said, try and be a lone wolf and do it all on your own, then you'll be burned out very quickly. Very
Exactly.
quickly, and
So
probably come up with some more shadows that you're going to have to work on later because you'll resent everyone for not doing this or that or the other. Yeah.
yeah, so that's why I started a free online community called Compassionate Transformation. And I really invite you, Marissa, and all the listeners to
Yeah.
join because we're going to do it together. I'm tired of playing this lone wolf game. And one of the bonus is that every Wednesday, I release a free healing message and blessing. So you get to experience some of the work that I do with my clients, but via video. And so it's sort of like I'm like, okay, I'm just serving, but then it doesn't deplete me because I make one video,
Yeah.
right? And then I can amplify to many people. It's like us. We spend 1 hour doing this podcast instead of working one-on-one. When people listen to this podcast, many people can get enlightened or healed.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
just like we were talking before, like even versus reading a blog post versus listening to a podcast, I love it because you get the energetics, you get the emotion, you get all the energy behind it. And I think it's better. I like it better anyways, but it's my opinion. So I'll touch on the acupuncture real quick, just because I said I was going to talk about it, and I have been thinking about going. I guess for that, is acupuncture something you need to go into with an intention for a specific maybe place on your body that's been irritating you, or I don't even know if you come in with an issue of I've just been feeling really sad lately, or what other issues may come up, or do you just kind of go in and say, hey, I just want to, I don't know, get the energy flowing and kind of see what's going on? What do people do, and what do you recommend?
So acupuncture is a whole body medicine. Traditionally people think about acupuncture as lower back pain or headache, but actually it's also good for if you have menstrual cramps, even if you have fibroids, if you have infertility issues, even if you have COVID, there are herbs. Basically, it's this medicine that has been around for thousands of years, right? This is a medicine that can really take care of every aspect of your body, right? Gynecology, like, yes, even toothache.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though, right? I love Western medicine. My dad is a GI surgeon for 54 years, and I have full love for vaccines and, chemotherapy and all the prescription medicine out there. Is to understand when to use Western medicine, when to use Chinese medicine, and when to use, I call it woo-woo spiritual medicine, magic spell, and stuff like that. And actually, you can do everything all at the same time because they're all complementary, like all medicine, join as one, okay? And that's something that I'm also really passionate about, is being the GP and being able to have people come to me and say, okay, I recommend chemotherapy for you, or I recommend Chinese medicine for you, or like woo-woo medicine. And really, my mission in life is to open people's heart to all kinds of medicine. But just a general rule is that the more urgent it is, then the more you lean Western medicine. Like, so for example, if I just had a car accident, if my cancer is stage 4, then really Western medicine is like bam, 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 bam. Okay, do the surgery, stop the bleeding. I definitely recommend Western medicine when you are, when you need to hook up yourself to a ventilator. That's definitely the way to go. So let's talk about woo-woo medicine or spiritual medicine. And this is something that is also extremely powerful to the extent that you are open to receive, right? So one of the things that happened to me when I got COVID, actually my blood oxygen level went down to 88%. And for those who don't know, 90% is when you can go crazy and you are supposed to go to ER. So I went below the threshold, and when I discovered that, I chanted a mantra, and then 10 minutes later, I'm 98, which is back to normal levels. So because I am so plugged into the source and such firm faith and belief that God's got me, I am totally open to spiritual medicine, and that's why it can work for me. But not everybody has that level of faith or cultivation. So that's where Chinese medicine comes in, which is, to me, it's really the bridge between Western medicine and spiritual medicine. And if you haven't tried it, please run or go onto Yelp and find, an acupuncturist with lots of good review, because everything is energy. In Yellow Emperor Classic, which is the Bible on Chinese medicine, it says something so simple. Where there are blocks, there is pain. Where there is flow, there is no pain. So in one sentence, healing is about identifying the blocks and removing them. Because if you have flow, there's no pain. So why traditional Chinese medicine is so great is because it's a system designed to diagnose and identify where your blockages are. Okay, so either A, okay, I have menstrual cramps, or I have migraines, or I have lower back pain, or I always get pimple on my right side, or I have jaw pain. Or you don't know, and you go to a practitioner who can diagnose, okay, you have blockages in your kidney channel, or if you have a lot of grief, okay, you have blockages in your lung channel, right? So traditional Chinese medicine is a combination of energy medicine and science, right? The fact that you can put it all in a 4-year degree and have a very rigorous license exam means that it's a reproducible, proven method, right? So in the state of California, everybody who is a licensed acupuncturist, we have to take a multiple choice test, right? Think about taking the SAT, A, B, C, D. There's only one right answer. So every person who is a licensed acupuncturist, they've gone through 4 years of rigorous scientific training to move your energy blockages. Think about how powerful that is, right? So if you've been an energy healer, you know all about Reiki and stuff like that, try Chinese medicine, try acupuncture, maybe even learn some of it. Actually, one of the things I'm trying to manifest is I want to teach a course, a crash course, so that all the Reiki healers and energy healers in the world can speak Chinese medicine, because then you are adding the science into what you do, right? Imagine if you're coaching somebody and you're like, okay, well, I see all this fear in your system, and that's why you don't have financial abundance. Imagine you can use Reiki energy and shine the light and move the blockages in their kidney channel. If only you knew what the kidney channel is, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So definitely people follow me on Instagram and social media because I look forward to birthing this class so that the science people can learn the spiritual techniques to healing, and the spiritual people can learn some science behind the energy healing.
Yeah, we don't have to keep it separated. We don't have to be,
No,
these are the woo and these are the ones with the MDs over here. We don't need to do that. Yeah, I love the beautiful. So I am going to be selfish for a moment and ask you to give a very brief overview about lower back pain because I had two bulging discs years ago and my back pain goes up and down. And I've already done some work around it, but I'm curious what the Chinese medicine take on that is. And since it sounds pretty common, I'm sure there's other people with that out there.
yes. Okay. So lower back pain is the most billed insurance complaint in traditional Chinese medicine. And very often the lower back pain is associated with, kidney, and it is associated with fear. So definitely go see an acupuncturist to help you move, because I'm oversimplifying it, but the shadow work aspect is you get to look at in what ways are you not trusting the universe.
Yeah, I had an Akashic Records reading, and what they said is that this lower back pain's tied to a belief in myself and like a belief around that I can do things.
Exactly. So think about it for a second. When we say backstabbing, we don't call it front stabbing. We don't call it, stomach stabbing, head stabbing. We call it backstabbing. The reason why we call it backstabbing is because betrayal happens in the back. So lower back pain can be either somebody is betraying you, or if you're doing the shadow work, you are betraying yourself. You're self-sabotaging yourself, right? And the other thing to think about is the lower back is your foundation, right? So in what ways are you not showing up as discipline structure? In what ways are you avoiding the support system, right? In what ways are you not supporting yourself? In what ways are you not allowing other people to support you? So for example, for the listeners out there, maybe you don't have enough money, but you are too proud to ask your parents for money. Okay, maybe if that happens to you, maybe you have knee pain, okay? Not willing to receive support.
Yeah.
And then there's also difference between left side and right side. Okay, left side is feminine, right side is masculine, right? So left side would be you're not allowing yourself to be emotionally supported. The right side is maybe more real life. You're not allowing yourself to be financially supported. And then, so the back pain is like, in what ways are you not trusting that you got it? Think about it. The back is support. I got you.
Yeah,
I
got
got
your
myself.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my back, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so if you have back pain, it's because you're not allowing other people to get your back, and you are not backing yourself up. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the shadow work. So take this podcast episode, learn all about lower back pain, but do go to a licensed acupuncturist, because, man, why try to, of course we can do breath work. Okay, breathe into the lower back and do all the shadow work, but just go on a table and let somebody move the blockages for you already.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably do it this week because I've been meaning to. So I will. Yeah, it's been very interesting learning about all of that. And I've connected the dots, within my body with certain things. And just, it's very illuminating. And that's why I love the combination of science and spirituality, because a lot of times there's a hidden meaning. And like you said before, our bodies hold on to what we experience in these traumas and these fears. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you guys are listening and you're getting a lot of value out of this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review for Marissa. Her
Thank you.
podcast can definitely benefit from you guys leaving some love for her, and definitely follow me on social media and join my online community where you get weekly free healing blessings, and stay tuned for the many courses that I'm going to birth.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'll have all of the links down below for the community, for your book, for your Instagram, your website. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate talking with you. It's been great.
Yeah, it's so fun. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you for listening to Big Design Energy. Please share with your friends, share on social media if this resonated with you today. Rate, review, and subscribe.